Good evening and welcome to the school committee meeting for Tuesday, February 23rd, 2016. I just want everyone to know that this meeting is being recorded on local cable television for broadcast tonight as well as future viewings. So can we stand for the pledge, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, the first item on the agenda are the minutes presented for approval from our meeting on February 9th. Do we have a motion?
Move to approve the February 9th, 2016 meeting minutes. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, excellent, thank you. And the next item on the agenda is the glimpse into the classroom for social studies.
Thank you. We are going to have Maureen Fennessy come up first, and she has Mrs. LaPiccolo and some students from her class, and so Maureen will introduce them, and then they will start the presentation off.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for welcoming us this evening to a glimpse into our social studies classrooms. We will be sharing from 2nd grade, 5th grade, and 10th grade. 10th grade. And the difference with our social studies curriculum as it's outlined by the state is there's no true clear alignment where skills build on over time like you have seen with mathematics standards and with English language arts. But we are able to find common threads throughout, and tonight you'll be hearing about American citizenship from grade 2, U.S. history from grade 5, and then the expanded U.S. History 1 course at the 10th grade. So this evening I was, and here the committee members have the standards that are directly aligned from the social studies, but we'll also be seeing standards from lots of other disciplines as well, as these are really appear as integrated units of study. So this evening I have Mrs. Catherine LaPiccolo from Huckleberry Hill School with some of her students, Sonia and Nate, and they're going to be sharing their work that they did around American citizenship in their 2nd grade classroom. So Catherine will be sharing some words about the project that they completed.
For this project, the previous unit that we had completed in 2nd grade was about maps and what maps are and where continents are and things like that. So after that unit, we had class discussions regarding our ancestors and where our ancestors are from. Then the students completed an interview for homework where they got to talk with their families about countries that their family are from and any customs or traditions that their family participates in related to those countries. Then we also got to explore nonfiction books in many different subjects of the school day and talked about different features that are in nonfiction books that help us learn as we read. Also, we got to work in our media center specialist with Mrs. Owens in the media center, and the students were able to work, most of them worked in groups and some of them worked alone, researching a country that their ancestors are from. They looked for customs, landmarks, clothing, and different things that they would encounter if they went to that country. After that, they came back to the classroom and we did some expository writing. They wrote a postcard to a teacher or a staff member in the building pretending that they had gone on vacation to that country, and they got to teach the staff member or teacher about that country. And they really enjoyed their project. We're currently presenting them and bringing them to their teacher or staff member.
Thanks. So Sonia Kumar is going to share her work that she completed with a student, Aiden Chin, that was unable to join us this evening. So Sonia will give us a glimpse into her trip to India. So hit that button. Just.
Good evening. How do you do? Dear Mrs. Robertson, we had a great visit to India. Our favorite landmark is the Taj Mahal. It took 20,000 workers and took 20 years to make it. And guess what? It's the 8th wonder of the world. Most of the food here is spicy, and we tried pani puri. Our last stop is New Delhi. New Delhi is the capital city. It is humongous, and we watched cricket. Cricket is like baseball. We were watching Japan versus India. We had a great time. P.S. Please write back to us. From Aiden Chin and Sonia Kumar.
We'll now hear from Nathan Zalman as he shares about his trip to Russia.
Dear Mr. Greca, I am visiting Russia with my family. My first stop in Russia was the capital city of Moscow. In Moscow, I saw the Red Square in the middle of Moscow. I wish you were there to come to the Summer Palace in St. Petersburg City. The Russian money is called rubles. It looked really, really, really cool. When I was in Russia, I tried kebabs and meat on a stick. Russia is located in the continent named Europe. See you soon at HHS. Sincerely, Nathan Zalvin.
Any questions for our second graders at this time?
Thank you very much. That was great. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you. I now welcome Kate Robertson and students from the middle school to give a glimpse into their social studies classrooms.
Good evening. I have Gabby Jacobs and Drew Damiani here to present speeches from the 5th grade Wax Museum that took place right before February vacation. There are several standards in the grade 5 social studies curriculum that ask students to describe and identify specific people and describe their life and accomplishments. All in all, it's like over 20 specific people named. And so throughout the course of the year, we study different units that include giving students an introduction to those life accomplishments, but the Wax Museum unit really gives students the opportunity to go beyond what they've learned about the basics of a person's life and focus on in-depth research about that person. So for the Wax Museum, they first select a Just Right biography on an important historical figure. They then read the book and they take 2-column notes on that book. The 2-column notes, I have a sample of one of the pages, but it's really scaffolded in 5th grade so that the main ideas are all outlined, and as the students read, they're looking for those supporting details to record and where they find the page numbers where that information is. Once they have their book finished, they draft their speech. They also have the opportunity to go on to the school library media center webpage, and they are able to use different databases in the Encyclopedia Britannica online to find extra information. So if the book that they had picked didn't have enough information to write their speech, they can add to that. They then draft their speech using a graphic organizer similar to that, and then they spend time in class revising and editing with either peers or with their teacher. Then they rehearse and practice their speech, and they created invitations and invited their parents and different family members, administrators, and everybody to this great wax museum where they have to stay frozen until they are brought to life by the viewer. So I have 2 guests with me. I have Benjamin Franklin and George Washington, and they're going to share with you their speeches that they have memorized. They wrote these on their own based on their informational text that they read. And I have just an example of their rubric. This does tie in the reading and writing, speaking, and listening skills because the humanities class has that infusion of the ELA standards in it with the social studies. So, without further ado, we have Benjamin Franklin coming first.
Hello, I'm Benjamin Franklin. I was born in Boston, Massachusetts on January 6, 1706. As a child, I was very curious and inventive, which later in life helped me become famous. I also had 17 children in my family. When I was growing up, I was educated at home by myself. Even with awful education, I taught myself to write, and I was really good at it. I was a printer in Philadelphia, so I had to be a good writer. While I teach myself to write, I also had to teach myself to read. I learned to love reading, so I established the first library so people in my area can enjoy some great literature. The final thing I tell myself to do was to learn proper English. Learning proper English in my later life taught me so that I could talk to people the proper way. Even with awful education, I did have some amazing discoveries and accomplishments. Later in life, I discovered many important inventions. My inventions are still used today. One of my inventions is the bifocals. Bifocals are glasses where you can see near and far. This is one of my best creations. Have you ever wondered who discovered electricity? You can figure it out right now. I was the first person to discover electricity. I did it by attaching a key to a kite and flying in a lightning storm. I knew that lightning was dangerous and was destroying many homes, so I established the first fire department so my community can put out fires. There also needed a place where people can go when they were sick, so I established the first hospital so people could visit there when they were very ill. I also established the first insurance company so people can recover from hard times. When you sit in a rocking chair, you should think of me. You want to know why? It's because I invented it. I did it. I needed something fun and comfortable to sit in when I was reading, so I invented the rocking chair. My inventions have impacted many people's lives. Although I had poor education, I did have some amazing accomplishments. Being curious and inventive as a child helped me in my later life become famous. I died on April 17, 1790.
Thank you. Now we have George Washington.
Hi, my name is George Washington. I was the first president of the United States of America. I was born on February 22nd, 1732. I grew up on a tobacco farm in Virginia with my brothers and sisters. When I was just 11 years old, my dad died, and because I was the oldest, I had to take responsibility for the farm. I always looked up to my stepbrother Lawrence, and when he died from tuberculosis, I saw an opportunity to be a military leader just like him. As a military leader, I ran into good times and bad. We won the Trenton Battle and Princeton Battle. After the French battle that we lost, everybody said I was brave and courageous when I fought. We lost 1/4 of our men to hunger, disease, and cold weather when we ran into a horrible winter. After a while, I decided I didn't want to be military leader. Then it hit me. I wanted to be president. Being second highest ranking person at age 22 in Virginia, I became military leader with John Adams by my side as vice president. I became president with John Adams by my side as vice president. As president, I lived in New York City. In 1789, I wrote a letter to Thomas Jefferson stating the nation's Secretary of State. I was supposed to live in Washington, D.C. in a White House, but I died before it was finished. There was a time I just wanted to live in Mount Vernon and not be president, but people convinced me to stay one more term. After the second term, saying goodbye to my officers was very sad, and I almost cried. I died December 14th, 1799 at about 10:30 p.m. I had parades and ceremonies in about 300 cities all across the nation.
Thank you. Do you have any questions for us about the Wax Museum?
You guys did a great job. Thank you so much. It's so much fun to hear.
Now we have our high school presentation from grade 10.
Good evening. I'm Mike Willard, Social Studies Department Head, and I'm going to introduce a former student who is now a teacher in my department, and he got a 5 on his AP test with me 8 years ago, and he's going to explain the project that he did with his students.
Hello everyone, my name is Pat Lamusta. Yes, a Linfield graduate and a student of Mr. Boulay, a proud student at that. The students, the 10th grade students love learning about the American Revolution. They love Chapter 4 They love learning about the beginnings of the country and some of the action that goes along with that. However, before you can get into Chapter 4, you have to learn about the seeds of revolution, how the colonies were getting that penchant for self-government, and why they wanted to separate from Great Britain. So with that, in Chapter 3, I allowed the students to choose a particular colony to go into depth and do some research. On the left here, you'll see a poster, a trifold poster, something you might see at a college career fair as you go around maybe, and that's how it used to be. But we added a technology component. We changed the project using technology to make this project available for a 21st century audience by using a new website. Sorry, I didn't bring s'mores. S'more.com is a newsletter program and brochure program online, and fortunately it is free, especially because it's you can use it for educational purposes. Although many of the students did opt to use the business template to create their brochure. So the students were going to demonstrate their knowledge of their individual colony using a s'more brochure. And once they completed that brochure, they could send it to me. And here's an example of the Virginia colony from one of our students appearing in my email. So some of the students found that they thought this was cool. And I said, geez, well, you might like marketing down the road. This is something you might use in the business world someday. So it was cool to see them make that connection. I have the rubric here as well. Knowledge gained. Were they able to convey the content and their understanding of the colony? Was it attractive and organized? Was it marketable, so to speak? Was there evidence of revision and proofreading? Third component. And did they cite their sources with the junior research paper requirement? That's an important skill, so we try to bring that up as much as we can, especially sophomore year. So I have Alex Ross here today to share her project with us. And give me 1 second, I'll open it up.
All right. Hi, everybody. So I chose the colony of New Jersey to research. I picked it particularly because I like New York, but I had already researched that for something different, so this was the next best thing. In class, I was supposed to be a salesperson trying to get Mr. Lamusta as the King of England to try and convince people to come and move to my colony. And I researched, a whole variety of different things for New Jersey to try and come up with the brochure. The social situation, as you'll see if you scroll down. That was just a lot of talking about the way society was set up in our colony and the different way the land was divided, and the wealthier people had bigger estates, obviously, and New Jersey was very agrarian as well as rural. A very convenient part of New Jersey was our location. We're located obviously between Philadelphia and New York City, so you get the best of both worlds. Those were two really big ports, so it was really good for travel. You'll see the fur trade. There's a picture of fur. That was also a really big part economically of the colonies. The Indian King Tavern, this was a really cool part that I got to research. It's actually still in New Jersey today, and it was a tavern and kind of an inn where people who were traveling throughout the colonies could come and stay, and it's kind of, they turned it into like a memorial, and you can go tour it today, so that was cool. Religion, that was obviously a big part of why the colonists moved to the colonies in the first place, to escape the religious persecution that was going on in Britain. So in New Jersey, there were 45 distinct congregations, so there was a lot of religious toleration, which was a really big, attraction to come and move to North America.
Thank you, Alex. Any questions for Alex on her project or the project in general? Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming out tonight. All the kids, all the students.
It was weird sitting down, right?
Thank you to all the students for coming out tonight and presenting their work to us. It's great for us to see because we rarely get to see that side of things, so it's really fun for us. So thank you. All right, the next item on the agenda is the update on the school improvement plans.
Okay, so the school improvement plans are going to be done in two different phases. The first phase, where we have the common goal for ELA, we're going to have them present first. So it's going to be Maureen Fennessy, Mary Ellen Yadavelli, and Kate Robertson. And I actually put another document, I just dropped it into your folder for ease of following along with them. It's actually the second document in your folder, Vocabulary SIP 1516. And that way you won't have to scroll up and down the entire folder while these three talk about the vocabulary goal for preschool through grade 12.
Hello again. To give you just a concise update of this goal, as Jane had mentioned, it was easier for us to do it together because we've been working on it together and planning it together. And that level of collaboration, we wanted to continue with that as we shared the update. As far as the action items that have been completed up until this time, we've been working and planning together. And we call ourselves the ELA Steering Committee. That's the three of us, in addition to Av Green, that's been working with us as a consultant for the last few years. Some work that we still are in the process of working on before we share that with teachers is really making sure we're being thorough, looking at the body of research around vocabulary instruction and making sure we're making decisions and choices that will sustain over time, that it won't be something that we'll be recreating again in a few years, because a few years from now we want to be sharing with you about how well this integrated approach is working and the difference that we're seeing in the performance of our students as they're taking on new words over time. So work that we are currently discussing is choosing the amount of words at each grade level that will be taught to mastery and at different disciplines, and also thinking about identifying those words. And another piece is the designation of the Greek and Latin affixes and affixes and roots for mastery. Now, those kinds of things we can work on as a committee, and we are continuing to work on a committee. The crux of our work will be completed at the elementary and middle school level at our early release day in April. So that's a day that we've been planning together and talking about. So we have our outcomes as far as the amount of words and designating the words and continuing the discussions around what instruction will look like. As far as the Greek and Latin, we've, with feedback from teachers at all different levels, they have asked us, please just tell us the words. And that's where we're working together as a team to really make sure we're cross-checking and have correct vertical articulation as far as we know that these are important and where they'll be introduced and taught to mastery. And the opportunity for the repetition over time without it being redundant as far as instructional time throughout the grades. And now Kate will share some of the other goals as well.
Okay, so for the elementary and middle part of the action items, sharing professional development time, dedicating that time to the process of developing that common vision for vocabulary instruction. One of the things that we did is we sent representatives from the elementary, high school, and then Katie Ambrose, our STEM director, and myself attended a Keys to Literacy vocabulary training. We went in October. Mary Ellen just went December and then today. And so what we were really looking at is that the members who went in October had been members of our ELA curriculum review committee. And so we were looking to see if the research that we have been doing as a committee and as a steering committee how that corresponded to some of the Keys to Literacy vocabulary routines that they had in place. And what we had found that a lot of their strategies that they present in Keys to Literacy were strategies that we've come across in our research. They're not Keys to Literacy strategies, they're good, solid teaching practices for vocabulary. So we had gone to that, and then we looked at some strategies that we could start presenting in different ways throughout our buildings. The middle school actually dedicated the professional development time on February 3rd with every department on board, special education, everybody. Katie Ambrose and myself led some vocabulary teaching strategies training. We looked at what is good vocabulary instruction. We read articles. We looked at our current practices. We then just introduced them to a few previewing and connecting strategies, and then between now and the April day, teachers are working on these in their classroom. They're going to try some of these strategies and then come back. We'll build upon that and introduce some new strategies, as well as work on coming up with our list of words, as Maureen had mentioned. Those are also strategies that will be introduced at the elementary level on that April 6th day, and then that Mary Ellen has been doing at the high school through department meetings with the English department. Part of the strategy is looking at that template with their pilot that they did with their in-context vocabulary. We've created templates for the middle school English that we piloted last year. They've been using them successfully. Part of the April 6th day will be to start using those in other disciplines as well, and to get everybody on board with that. So April 6th will be a big day for elementary and middle, and then ongoing department time with the high school. Part of our school improvement plan is to have a district-wide distribution of the list of vocabulary that would be grade level and discipline specific. That work we're looking at for possible summer institute. That would be dependent on what actually is completed on that April 6th professional development day, and then also the other different initiatives at different buildings that would involve similar pools of people working on those projects. So that's still pending, depending on what is accomplished and what other priorities come up. Now Mary Ellen will speak to the last two items.
So now we look at all of the work that we've been doing as a committee with the research that we've been doing with vocabulary and the strategies, and then what we did most recently this year was look at applying this. So that has been focused around learning walks. So the steering committee, what we've done is we've done learning walks at high school, the middle school, and the elementary level, looking at how these strategies are applied in the classroom. So as we went through the learning walks, we saw content vocabulary as well as academic vocabulary being modeled in the classroom, ranging from 10th grade honors class where students were looking at vocabulary that they were unfamiliar with through a model text and having conversations based around that vocabulary, ranging from that to speaking and listening in a 9th grade college prep classroom where they are taking the templates and they're adapting them and they're owning the vocabulary language. To the middle school level, we're on a learning walk. We, in a glimpse there, looked at prefixes, suffixes, some Greek-based words, and applying those to conversations students are having with each other. And then most recently, we were at the Huckleberry Hill School, where a whole school assembly was led, where children were discussing the word resilient, and then it was really nice to see that applied in the classroom in all subject areas. So we I personally sat in a conversation with 2 second graders where one gentleman told a little girl to be resilient when she was trying to explain how she came up with a math problem and to stick with it, and that she would find the solution to that. So it's really neat to see this becoming part of their language, where I think what we've seen in previous years before this, we've seen vocabulary words introduced at the beginning of a week, assessed on a Monday, and then assessed on a Friday, and then a whole new stream the next week, and it's really not becoming purposeful to the students. And we're really seeing that work at system-wide with us. And then finally, what we would like to still continue to do is to meet as a steering committee, and we will do that through planning and for future professional development. One area at the high school that we'll be looking at for professional development will be focusing more so on our developing work with the redesigned SAT. What we've seen with the practice SAT in October, as well as some of the model exams through Khan Academy, is that vocabulary is being assessed through text. It's being assessed through the readings, the language. It's no longer a SAT-based vocabulary where they, again, just see the words and they're assessed on those as well. But at this point, if you have any questions about the work that we've been doing and the systemic approach that we have with us, to answer them for you.
I think it's terrific to see the three of you sitting up there together, because we talk a lot about the sort of the vertical articulation that we hope gets in place, and seeing the three of you sitting up there together is like a visual confirmation that it's happening. So it's really nice to hear how you're collaborating and bringing everything through from pre-K to 12.
It's good. Today at the conference that I went to for Keys to Literacy, I went to the vocabulary one in December, and then today and tomorrow it's a writing in the content, through the content areas, but it still includes obviously vocabulary. And something that I had discussed with the group was that we have students at the middle school level who are using the writing strategies, and this is important for the high school now to have that language as we have instruction in writing as well as the students feed into the high school over the years. So it's important to have this. Thank you.
Thank you.
One question. This is great work. Do you see this feeding into any changes with summer reading requirements, or how does this play ongoing into the next school year?
Well, you're looking right at me, so. You're in the middle. I would, because what we expect to happen with students is they'll start, I think past practice has been when you got to a difficult word in your reading, you skipped over it. That's what we saw in classrooms with students. And I think that what this is doing is it's having them have a baseline. So we look at root words, prefixes, suffixes. They'll have something to be able to focus in on, see a vocabulary word and break that down, or have something that's more familiar to them so they can do so. What we're seeing with summer reading, a lot of the teachers at the high school are now using guides with students. It's not extra written work, it's more of a guide so that students can use that as a resource. So I think that we will see that go through the summer reading in the school.
It was something that I had considered thinking about as we're changing our instructional practices to have the students be practicing and rehearsing that same methodology at home. I want to wait until our April day because I don't want to put a change into place where the students wouldn't be as familiar with it. And then having teachers have to undo, if students went about it the wrong way. But that is something that it will change not only how we're teaching, but assessing and gathering the information and being able to show that growth over time. And in different reading logs and recording forms, this template could easily be adapted to keep that home-school connection piece there.
Yeah, and I think that's something also after that April day as we look forward, not for this coming summer, but for next year as we meet as a steering committee, really looking at that continuum K-12 and what we do with summer reading around the writing and the vocabulary that we've really been putting the focus on these past couple of years. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so now we will have the preschool presentation, and for the preschool presentation, it will be Jen DeBias, the principal of Summer Street School, Maureen Fennessy, the ELA curriculum director, and Kara Morrow wanted to be here tonight, but she's under the weather. So these two will share the updates, and just so you know, at the end of each of the updates, each of the schools will also be sharing their core belief statements as well, and that's also in this document. So welcome, Jen and Maureen.
So Maureen and I are here to discuss the preschool school improvement plan. We have, our first goal is about the professional learning community. So for the preschool, being part of Summer Street School, having them physically in the building was a whole different ballgame than them being in their separate location, because they were working collaboratively with each other, but just on the preschool level, because they were basically in isolation, working in one unit. So bringing them to Summer Street School was really a mind shift for both preschool staff, because we had 2 new teachers, and also for our staff to think, okay, now we've got like even younger kids in the building, and how are we going to branch out and make that bridge between the preschool and the elementary learning community. So one of the first things that we did is, as the preschool faculty, we have 2 preschool teachers, but we also have, since it's an integrated preschool, a large number of faculty members such as speech and language, OT, PT. We have Maureen Fennessy and Christina Noche who are involved in the curriculum of the preschool. So we have a big community of professionals there. So we needed to create a weekly meeting that we could all sit, collaborate, discuss children, discuss everything from redoing the report cards to addressing student needs. So we had the preschool teachers meet with us in a weekly meeting. Most recently, we split it so that each preschool teacher really has one-on-one time with the team, knowing that they're teaching kind of 2 separate programs, 2 different programs, and the needs are different. So we started that, so they have their own consult time. We've also included opportunities. The biggest thing is how can we get them working with us and collaborating with us. So they're part of all our faculty meetings. They're part of our instructional rounds. So we made a point of including them in all the elements, everything that we could think of, professional development opportunities. We have a member who is a representative on our FAC committee, professional development committee, so to make sure that they're an integral part of our community and that they have a voice. And a lot of these things were unknown to them, because when I would send out the information at the beginning of the year and say, who's signing up for FAC, and they're like, what is FAC? What is this? So I was like, oh my gosh, okay, FAC is this, and we'd love to have your voice on the panel. The other thing that's been great is that teachers have been reaching out to each other. So when it comes time to, when we had the Halloween parade, what's preschool going to do? How can we incorporate them into what we're doing? So teachers have been great about reaching out to one another. We have a 2nd grade classroom that's going to go sometime this week and do a play for the preschool kids, so they were practicing it today. We had them included in things of the Sweetheart Slush. We're trying to make sure that our open houses are similar in nature. So what you see at an open house in the preschool level will be similar to what you're seeing on the elementary level. So trying to kind of keep that uniformity and have the same expectations for both the preschool and the elementary school. The other thing we've been working on too is, when we have faculty breakfasts every month, they're part of that. They're invited. They participate in it as well. We've also worked on parent outreach opportunities. The PTO meetings have now been going back to back. So preschool goes first, and then we have the Summer Street PTO meeting. So some of the parents will stay for the second PTO meeting. We have the preschool screening information sessions. Parents have provided input that's been considered and utilized as we develop our programs at Summer Street School. So it's great at the PTO meetings that the parents kind of give us some feedback. How is everything going so far, especially since this year has been a big transition for many. In November, Linfield Preschool was represented at this Linfield Moms group. And then what we've done too is that we've also developed a preschool leadership team, which we didn't have before. So on that team, we have Kara Morrow, we have Christina Ryan, we have Derek Munyon, the director. He's our behaviorist, and he's also the program director, the development of programs. And that team, and we'll have Maureen on it and Christina as well. That team meets every week, and we talk about programming and structure. The preschool level is very interesting because we also have a connection to early intervention. Early intervention is that's the unknown, because we don't know about children that are going to be referred until about 3 months until they come to our program. So we'll basically just get a letter and say, we have a child and you need to evaluate. So from there, we kind of need to get an action plan. What are we going to do, how are we going to do the evaluation, and then kind of structure that whole process, and then how we're going to meet the children's needs. So we've had a lot of work this year that we've been doing that's been ongoing, but it's really been a process and a learning process for everyone, because this was a really important goal, because it was unlike anything that the preschool has ever experienced before, as well as the elementary. And it was we had a lot of things to iron out, simple things such as arrival dismissal times, things that we just kind of took for granted that we're like, okay, this is going to work, and how we've had to kind of change and adapt and such. So right now, I feel that we are in a great place compared to the beginning of the year when we were kind of learning. There's so many things you can plan for, but now having a lot of these things in place, I feel that in terms of the professional learning community, we've come so far from the beginning of the year, and we will continue to work on, improving as we go along.
Hi. The second goal from the preschool level is around data and assessment. And as far as our action items, the DESE, in conjunction with the Department of Early Education and Care, known as the EEC, released social, emotional, and play standards. So on top of the academic standards that we've been trying to wrap our head around and keep the expectations, especially in preschool and kindergarten classrooms, we now have a document of accessible standards in social emotional domains and play. You heard a while back, and last time I was here at the meeting, about the importance of play in the kindergarten classroom, and it is something, of course, in our preschool programs as well. We haven't had the opportunity to unpack all of those standards because that's something that our teachers have a good control over. It's a big part of the learning program and how they're delivering instruction already through play. But that's something that sometime later this spring, as professional opportunities arise, to really unpack it. We did look through it as we were looking at our progress reports to share with parents as they were revised in the fall. I had the opportunity to work with their new preschool team for 2 days this fall, 2 full days for them for their professional development. And we unpacked the academic standards and really talked about what does that wording look like, and what would that look like for a 3-year-old, and what would that look like for a 4-year-old, and how would we share this information with the other adults working with the students, and how would we share this information with parents. And that was accomplished within those 2 days, and with some ongoing time in between for us to really think about things as they return to the classroom, and having me join them in the classrooms and talk about, okay, these are the kinds of things we want to capture. There's not a lot of paper, well, with the 3-year-olds there isn't any paper and pencil, test kinds of formats, but that observation and making sure that the teachers have the opportunity to work with the other adults supporting students in their classroom, so they're all looking through that same lens. Like, what does that look like as far as expectations, and finding growth, whether it be something that might be hard to measure in another, without just an observation with a checklist format. So we were able to accomplish that. We were very pleased with our progress report that we shared with parents, and the few parents that I did get feedback from thought it was very clear, and they had that in combination with the conferences really felt that they had a great amount of information as far as their child's learning in our preschool programs. Something that is new to our preschool program is the introduction of Foundations, which is our phonics program in grades K through 3. And the Wilson Reading Program has introduced the Foundations, and what I really like about it is it's not a program for 3 and 4-year-olds. It's really packaged as an activity set, where the students in our preschool programs will hear the same instructional language, concepts, and the same visuals to support their learning that they'll be introduced in all of our kindergarten classrooms. So as far as something to keep that vertical alignment, and that is something I really feel strongly that may not have happened if they weren't housed at Summer Street School and had the opportunity to visit those kindergarten classrooms and see what is happening in the kindergarten classrooms, and saying, is that something that we should be introducing to the students? So that's something that will be ongoing, but it is where we are right now with the data assessment at the preschool level. Any questions for us at this time, or we can forward them to Kara?
That's a good move, Maureen. Very good move. Okay, so now I'm going to ask Maureen to leave the table and for Brian to come up to the table. And Brian and Jen will share the elementary update.
Thank you, and good evening. Thank you for giving Jen and I an opportunity to update you on the progress that we've made toward the goals of our school improvement plan at the elementary level. The three goals of our plan were first to maximize student achievement in the area of science. The second goal was to improve academic achievement in the area of English language arts. And the third goal was the vocabulary goal, K through 12, that you heard about earlier this evening. I'm going to begin tonight's presentation by giving you an update on the progress that we've made toward our first goal, maximizing student achievement in science. The purpose of this goal is to have all of the science lessons and units of study fully aligned with the 2013 Massachusetts Science, Technology, Engineering Standards and be ready for full implementation of these units of learning for next year. In your packet, you will see an update for each of the previously identified action items that have been completed to date. Teachers have worked extremely hard, extremely collaboratively at grade levels to develop a very clear understanding of the learning objectives as stated in the 2013 standards. Professional development time has been devoted to understanding these learning objectives while creating engaging and hands-on lessons. From there, grade level teams have planned the implementation of the units. Kindergarten, grade 1 and grade 2 grade level teams work together from both Huckleberry and Summer Street under the guidance of Christina Noce to create the lessons and units. Grade 3 and 4 teams, they work together from both buildings, and they also split up the workload, and grade levels at Summer Street created some of the units, and grade levels at Huckleberry created some of the units. And I'm really excited about that work because it made the workload a little bit less, but also teachers had the opportunity to visit the other schools, present the materials, present the lessons, share the resources, and model effective teaching strategies, which was great for all involved. Discussions regarding the effectiveness of the lessons are ongoing. Teachers share their experiences at grade level meetings, professional development time, and during faculty meeting time as far as how the lessons are going, what they might need in the future, what worked, what didn't work. So these conversations are ongoing. Professional development time has been utilized for all teachers, not just classroom teachers, to share instructional practices and materials, and this is another exciting aspect of taking on these new science standards and creating these lessons, is that we have the specialists involved, and we have the specialists working with grade levels to implement aspects of the standards during their time with the students. We also have the technology integration specialists, Jen Judkins and Sarah Perkins. They're working with every grade level to include a lesson involving technology. For example, most recently, the kindergarten class was using iPads to create presentations about what they've learned about matter. So the kindergarten students were excited about that. Jen, Christina, and I consistently meet as a team to plan professional development days based on professional development committee recommendations as well as teacher feedback forms. To summarize, our students are really enjoying these new science lessons. And we both believe that they'll be continue to be very engaged and excited by the concepts and materials presented. And it's because of the collaborative effort of our teachers and staff at both buildings that we feel very confident that we will be more than prepared for full implementation of these lessons and units of study next year. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have about the science goal.
Not a question, just a comment. And, you know, kind of taking the school committee hat off and then putting the parent hat on for a sec. hearing a lot more about science from kids when they come home and talking about it and getting excited for it. So, I see that and see it as a real positive. So
That's great.
Nice job.
Thank you.
Okay, for goal number 2, we want to improve, obviously, the academic achievement in the area of ELA. The biggest takeaway from this that we tried to focus on is that we were looking for having a common lens and a tool in which to assess students. And we wanted to make sure that we had a systematic way to monitor progress, that we could look at kids kindergarten through 4th grade using the same lens, and actually pre-K now that we have the foundations component in there. We had done a lot of work. It's ongoing discussions. We've already, in the years past, unpacked the standards. We had looked through so everyone had a clear understanding of what they're teaching on what level. So now we're having discussions at assessment meetings and grade level at what we're teaching, and now taking a look at the data to make sure that we are still that same vision and everyone is looking through everything with the same lens. The biggest thing we've done is we've had the benchmark assessment training in grades K to 4. So we have done K to 2 had 1 day of training, 3rd through 4th had 2 days. K to 2 is already familiar with the benchmark program. It was more of a refresher for them. 3rd and 4th grade, this was new. So they had 2 days of training, which we did in December and again in January. What our hope is, January and February, we had, Maureen Fennessy led the way in the training for the teachers, which was great. Mary Vidara was also a wonderful resource, as well as our reading tutors. We had special education teachers there, all the tutors there, Mary Vidara, reading specialist, and as I said, Maureen running the show on this, so that everyone was hearing the same information. We were trying to, as part of the district strategy alignment, empower teachers. We took those teachers, especially the special teachers and the reading specialists, to take their strengths and their knowledge and to be their support for other teachers if they had some questions. So that has been really great. We want to use this now. We're working on how now to implement this into each of the grade levels so that we can make sure that we're collecting data effectively. We've also been taking foundations data at the end of every unit from kindergarten through 3rd and looking at that data and making sure that we're all looking through it through the same lens. This has been really great during our assessment meetings when we look at students. We've been able to take our tutorials for both math and for reading based on what we have for data, and we've been able to really tweak groups. So at our last assessment meeting, we had our reading tutors and said, we need to have we have enough kids to form a group for 2 sessions for kids to just kind of do a foundations boot camp. So we're able to kind of take what we needed. Maureen Fennessy has been great in saying, however we need to utilize the tutors, they're willing to do it. We can have a group doing foundations. We have a group just working on comprehension. We have a group working on decoding and fluency. So we've been able to use that information to really kind of tailor our needs for the tutorials, so it's not cookie cutter. It's not, well, you get LLI and you're all set. It can really be based on the needs of the kids. The benchmark assessment data has been great because it really gives specific information about reading. So instead of coming to the table and saying, this kid's really struggling in reading, we can now take this tool and say, where is it? Is it fluency? Is it comprehension? If it is comprehension, is it explicit or is it implicit? So we have a wealth of information that we can get from that. Instructional rounds has been fabulous because teachers have been able to observe one another professionally, but then they've also been able to collaborate. So today I heard a group, overheard them because they were next door to me, talking about strategies. This teacher wanted them to look specifically at a student to see strategies for executive functioning and such. And it was great because they were all giving feedback on, I had someone similar to that, this is what we did, and what have you. So they've been able to use that for either working specifically with students, but they've been doing a lot of it for what can I do, and can you observe me as I'm teaching foundations? Can you observe me as I do my guided reading groups? So in the instructional rounds has been great too. We've also been using the faculty meetings. Brian brought with him this idea from one of his MESPA meetings of unconferencing. So we're now starting our faculty meetings with the teachers saying, what do you want to discuss? So we have one group that's going to be talking about benchmark assessment. We have another one who's talking about the social emotional toolbox. So that has been really great because that gives another avenue for teachers that don't feel that they are confident in something. So Maureen had said, I'll put up I'll do benchmark assessments. Whoever wants to sign up for that to talk about it, where are they having, the strengths and weaknesses with that. So that has been really, really great as well. So we have been, everything we've been continuing to monitor. We've been continuing to take this data. The teachers have been fabulous because when we have these assessment meetings, they've been there with the data. They are more than willing to help us with it. We're looking at it and having really authentic, genuine discussions about kids and their progress. So we will continue to work on this as we move on to the end of the year. We will use a lot of the feedback, as Brian has said. Every time we have a professional development opportunity, we send out a survey and we get feedback from staff. We look at the feedback and we say, okay, what do we need to move forward with? So we can plan out so much for professional development, but we also have to take the opportunity to stop and reflect on what teachers are saying and what they need, and then go from there. And I think that's it. Did I cover everything? Systematic way, common lens, monitoring progress. So that's it. Does anybody have any questions?
So before you leave the table, if you both can just share your core beliefs, core value and belief statement, and kind of give just a little background of where it came from. The development of a core value and belief statement is part of the district strategy. We had decided as an administrative leadership team that it would be a really important thing for each school to have a belief statement that tied directly into our district strategy. So, Jen?
Sure. I tied it into the preschool and Summer Street. I actually came to a bunch of groups and I said, so what do you think if we needed a core belief and value system? We are bucket fillers at Summer Street School, and we talk about acts of kindness and how you can fill one another's buckets by doing things that promote positivity in the school. So we went back and forth over a couple of phrases, and somebody finally said, we always talk about respect. And somebody said, kids don't fully understand what respect means. Respect mean you have to respect your property, you have to respect one another, has many different meanings. So we decided to go with something simple, such as no act of kindness is ever wasted. Kindness counts at Summer Street School. Because we feel with children, grades K through 4, and pre-K now to 4, everyone understands what kind is. And when you talk to a preschooler and you talk to a 4th grader, there's really no gray area with kind. And we feel that if you're kind, it encompasses everything. So that was our core belief statement.
And at Huckleberry Hill, we have the Huckleberry Hero Pledge, which is a part of our character program, Huckleberry Heroes. This started 6 years ago, and it started with this statement. And the program was developed off of this statement, and this pledge is recited by every staff member, every teacher, and every child in the school every morning on the morning announcements. We talk about it in the class. It's posted in the class. We talk about it at classroom meetings. And do you want me to read it? All right. I don't even have to read it. I should know. But it says, today we will give our best effort in all that we do. We will work hard to be respectful, caring citizens and excited learners. All of us has the ability and responsibility to learn and succeed. And like I said, we talk about that in the classroom. We talk about best effort all the time, and just being respectful towards all.
Just a question about how often the core values get sort of re-examined to determine if they're still valid, if they're going to be expanded, or if they're still on target.
That's a good question. I would say that it's probably something that, and the principals can probably answer this better, but probably something that they're thinking about all the time as they're thinking about the culture of their building. What are some of the things that we need to work on? What are some of the things that we're doing well in terms of, is it done every September? I could not say that with certainty. I would say that I know that at Huckleberry, Brian has looked at that every year with the HERO program. And I think Jen's is new this year at Summer Street, so I would imagine it's something that they will continue to look at as the culture of the building start changing and what they need to be working on.
We've left the statement, but we've changed the ways that we, for lack of a better word, teaching children how to be respectful, caring citizens. That has changed several times over the course of 6 years, but the statement has remained the same.
I guess I like the fact that Huckleberry talks about learning in their statement.
Okay, Stephen Ralston, principal of the middle school, he will now give his update on Linfield Middle School.
Good evening, and thank you. Here to present an update on a couple of the goals spelled out in our middle school improvement plan. The first goal I'd like to address an update on is our enhanced performance on comprehensive state exams. It was stated as that because when this was written back prior to the beginning of the school year, we weren't sure exactly where we were going with MCAS, PARCC, somewhere in between, and that's evolving, as we go forward. All of the efforts that we've put forth this year won't be realized as far as that true measure until the end of summer, when we start to see those results trickle in from this spring's MCAS testing, excuse me. But what I can at least talk about is some of the things that we had put forth as action items in our improvement plan and where we stand on those. The first one, looking at working with released MCAS questions and preparing our students for these exams. One thing that we didn't anticipate at the beginning of the year that we have recently put in is a practice on PARCC-style narrative writing practice. This is something that just in the past couple months, the state has indicated that there's while we do the MCAS ELA, there's 2 sessions of MCAS and a third session that is PARCC style with narrative writing. So we're giving students practice specifically in that, and also getting into some examples of and some practice of timed writing. The MCAS is largely untimed, and so shifting to that PARCC section where it's timed is going to be an adjustment for some students. So we've been trying to prepare them for that. This is really just like a 1-year transition that we're going through with the state testing. The schools that did MCAS, that did PARCC last year continue with PARCC. Linfield is about half of the schools in the Commonwealth are doing MCAS. We have the added PARCC component this year, and then, as you've certainly followed along, the MCAS 2.0 will be statewide next year, and I'm sure that there's going to be some type of hybrid between the two, and we'll find out more guidance on that. So, this was sort of a last-moment shift by the state, and we're adjusting accordingly with our practice at the middle school. And there is no long composition in grade 7 this year, or grade 4 for that matter. Some of the other items, we've completed our item analysis from last year's examinations, our action plan, which myself, along with Katie Ambrose and Kate Robertson, presented to you back in the fall for improvement on MCAS. Our tutorials are continuing, and that's ongoing as we move students in and out of the tutorials. Our curriculum mapping, our keys to literacy, the other things that we've had mentioned previously are all ongoing through professional development and faculty meeting time, department meeting time as well. So a lot of the things that we've spelled out here towards this goal are either completed or ongoing in progress. There isn't anything that we haven't touched on this. I'll answer any questions you might have regarding the first goal on MCAS improvement.
Steve, this is obviously something we've been working on for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to give you an opportunity to speak. I know we've proposed some changes to the taking two teachers,
yes,
because of class sizes at the middle school,
mm-hmm,
in next year's budget. And can you just talk a little bit about if you think or how you think that will impact any of the work we're doing on this?
Okay, certainly. When Jane approached me several months ago with this, looking at the numbers, at the elementary school, looking at the numbers of our 5th and 6th grade primarily over the next few years with the enrollment. We had many discussions about what impact this might, bring on the middle school to go from 9 teachers to 8 teachers in grade 5 and grade 6. Obviously, class size goes up about 2.2 students per class. But looking back at what we've done in the last 4 years, because 4 years ago we added the 9th teacher to grade 5 and 6, largely to address class size, because we were pushing 25, 26 in some cases for class size. And that was 4 years ago. In those 4 years, we've added several layers of ELA and math tutorials. We have the full data assessment model, 2 full-time curriculum directors. We have a restructured schedule with additional time on math and science that we didn't have previously. All of our curriculum mapping, just so many other changes have occurred over those last 4 years as well, that and also our numbers now are smaller than they were 4 years ago. We don't have class sizes of 200 or 160, 170, 180, and we're not at the 200s as we were several years ago. So to have class size go up by a couple students, I certainly don't think is going to give us a negative impact, given all of the other interventions that we've put in place over the last 4 years. It's a much different place the middle school is than it was 4 years ago.
Just, I feel like the state has caused everyone's head to start spinning with the MCAS, MCAS 2.0 part, whatever. So I almost feel like, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that in a sense you've lost your mooring, your ability to necessarily compare how you've been doing to previous years with the testing changes. But you will still have in place a fair amount of your own testing.
Absolutely.
To know that students are making progress.
Absolutely.
And not depending just on the state test to measure that students are making progress and getting them where you want to be.
Right. We have our own interim assessments. We have our all the common assessments within each grade level, each discipline, and then also our DDMs. And this is our first year with our DDMs, so we're going to be, and that's not just the middle school. That's across all levels, all disciplines, as a way to measure how our students are doing and what they're able to accomplish.
So despite the fact that the state might be causing some angst, you still have that baseline mooring that
Absolutely.
you can tie back to for progress.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Any other questions on the first goal? Okay, moving on to the second goal was to enhance the communication within the middle school community. And again, similar to the first goal, everything that we have mentioned as action items are either in progress or, there isn't anything that we haven't started with this. I've hosted 4 coffees for parents. The next one is tomorrow morning, if you'd like to come. It's at 8:30 in the cafeteria. Those have been really nice opportunities to have more intimate conversations with small groups of parents about really any topic that they'd like to talk about around education, middle school. We've had a wide variety of conversations in those previous coffees, so I've really enjoyed that. We do have our postcards available. We've not used those maybe as much as I would have expected. I think the preferred avenues of phone calls and emails have really continued, but the postcards, some of those have been used more internally within the school than actually mailed home to parents. So it's something that we still promote, but it hasn't taken off as much as I would have maybe like to by now. The Wax Museum and some of our opportunities for students showcasing their work. You saw a glimpse of that earlier this evening with Ben Franklin and George Washington, and we had that over the course of 3 days prior to February vacation. And it was team-based and very positive turnout from parents, aunts, uncles, grandparents, older brothers and sisters as well. So it was a really nice 3-day event there. Also, our use of Twitter and the LMS blog has, we feel has done a nice job in reaching out, and we're constantly trying to make sure that our message gets out to the community in a fashion that is accessible and convenient, for the changing needs of, our students and the parent community. Any questions on the communication? Okay. Moving on.
I do. I'm sorry, Steve.
Sure.
Just quickly, what are the nature of the check-in phone calls? Talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, the check-in phone calls are really myself, Ricky Shanklin, and our two directors, Kate and Katie, to check in with parents on, how things are going. It might be something that, in some cases, it might be a cold call where we're just checking in on. We ran into, we were in a classroom and we observed a student working in a lab group, and we were, engaged them in a great conversation about what they were doing. We might follow up with a phone call home to explain to the parents, hey, we had a nice conversation with your son or daughter on this. Other times it might be a check-in on, following up if there was an issue that was identified early on. It might be a struggle or something that was going well or not so well, following up on some of the kids who are in the tutorials and to what extent parents are seeing progress in the skill set that the students have.
Thank you. That's what I was looking for. So it's a balance.
Absolutely,
It's positive,
yes.
and also for some at-risk situations
Exactly.
that may arise. Thank you.
Moving on to the mission statement, and Dorothy, you had asked the question of Brian and Jen about how frequently this is revisited. And as you recall, last year, actually the last 2 years, one of our middle school school improvement plan goals was to revise, restructure our mission statement. It had existed before I had arrived at the middle school, which was 11 years ago, so I don't know how long it was prior to that. And it was, and I believe in the past year or two, when I was talking about our progress through the school improvement process, how the standing middle school mission statement was this grandiose statement full of $5 words that really it said everything and it said nothing. It was just really cumbersome, and it wasn't student friendly, and our charge was really to have a mission statement that represented the middle school of who we are and what we strive for our students to become, and we wanted that statement to be more student friendly, and we arrived at an acronym of STARS, and having our students aspires to reach the stars. The stars, the S for self-advocacy, the T for tolerance, the A for achievement, the R for respect, and the S for service. And looking at some of the things that we've put in place around our middle school service, community service program, and some of the things that our One Club has done recently around tolerance and respect really feed into the stars. So it's something that we, have recently developed, but we continually will, look at this from year to year on how we have our students, how we help them meet those, those different tenets. Any questions?
I do, I appreciate not only how do you have the mission statement, but you're talking about how it gets implemented, which is really nice to Really nice to hear.
Yeah, one of our next things is to have like a formalized poster or something that we can have as a reminder in every single classroom as a visual, much like the high school has with their, as a result of the NEAS, their 21st century skills and so forth. So that's something that we would hope to be able to have in place for the beginning of next year for every single classroom.
Yeah, and I like how your list of, of what you aspire to do, a lot of them have an academic side as well as a, behavior or, communication
Yes.
and relationship side of them as well. They can kind of be played both ways, so it's great.
It's a busy time as kids grow up. All right, great. Thank you.
Thanks, Stephen. And now Bob Clary will come up and he will share the update on the high school plan.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me here. I'm going to work backward on our goals there. Obviously, we've already talked about our vocabulary goal from the district standpoint. The next goal there is about our Pathways to College program. We've been looking at this for a couple of years now. We've got a number of different things that have gone on. When we took a look at this, there's a sort of a small grassroots group of local high schools that have been talking about it for 2 years, I think, at this point. And this year, we really kind of formalized that a little bit more. We've got about 7 or 8 schools that are now working. We're calling ourselves a collaborative. It's nothing quite official yet, but we're still working hard, and we've been working in conjunction with North Shore Community College. A lot of us had some of the same needs. A lot of us had some different needs, but we really got down to it. We sort of took a little inventory of what's available for our students. And I think for a lot of our high-performing students and our typical student, we've got their normal dual enrollment program. You've got Mass College Online, which allows students to take college-level courses and fulfill high school requirements. So those have been in place and have been used for different degrees for, I think, all of our schools with our students. But as we did a needs assessment, we really kind of found that our non-typical student was really struggling to find that spot, and we sort of looking to sort of kill 2 birds with 1 stone of a student that may be struggling to make it in the structure of their high school. And in the past, we've tried to do dual enrollment or tried to do some of this independent work, but they just really were struggling without a little bit more support from the community college or support from a cohort group. So that's really what the focus has been right now with this program. As we look at it, it's been called the Pathways to College program. There's a number of programs like this around the country with different names, but we felt we really wanted to try to make this a little more specific to what we felt was the need. And North Shore Community has been great in trying to work with us. So the basis of the program is really much like the dual enrollment program, but what a student gets out of it is the support of the community college, and then also the support of what will hopefully be a cohort group that, as we all are able to identify 2 or 3 students that we think would benefit from this program, obviously from a cost effectiveness standpoint and a support standpoint, for me to send 2 or 3 kids to this program on their own is kind of difficult, but by all of us getting together, and now suddenly we're talking about 20 students in a cohort group, there's the support from each other, from their peers, but also, again, then the university or the community college is also able to then sort of allocate manpower hours in order to help them and kind of help see what they need to do. And a big portion of it was to come up with a specific pathway, and right now the 2 things we're looking at are healthcare professions and entrepreneurship. So it's got a specific focus. So a student that gets into the program really will kind of have an idea in place. So they're heading towards an associate degree, and then the possibility of parlaying that into a bachelor's if they move on, if they're successful in that program. There's a lot of different parts to it, and right now it's kind of up in the air. Tom Geary was outstanding. We've met basically once a month from the beginning of the year. Actually, we started at the end of last year. We've got a lot of great ideas, but a big part of it has been, how do we collaborate? How do we put everybody together? What's the fee structure? Now, when you've got 8 or 10 schools that are trying to send 1 or 2 or 3 kids, and how does the university, how does the college kind of charge for that? How do we put that together? So there's been a lot of talk about trying to put together a collaborative and put together this cohort group and how we can make sure that happens. I know that the next few meetings we're going to have has been talking to local banks to see if they can structure a collaborative group in there, or it may just be the matter that North Shore Community is going to bill each individual group like a collaborative fee. So there's a number of things that are up in the air there, and I don't have all the details for you, though. Those are things we're still working out right now. And like I said, it was really, really great. Tom Geary showed up, and we've now tried to invite a few more of our business managers in to give us a little more insight on just exactly what we can do from a financial standpoint. I think we were all excited about the academic and the support group, and that was, all right, how do we fund this? How do we make this happen? So there's a lot of questions there, but I think some of the things that I'm pretty excited about is not only is it to give some of our students that are non-traditional students who normally wouldn't have this opportunity, an opportunity to earn some college credit while they're still completing their high school diploma, but it also gives us the opportunity to expand it. It's not just a senior program. It is, the way it's been structured is a 2-year program. So the potential for us to have a student that could enter it as a junior and go through these 2 years and not only complete their high school education, but walk away with either an associate's degree at that point from North Shore Community, or be a class or 2 away from completing that associate's degree. So it really gets a lot of bang for its buck if we can get a student that's identified early enough. Even if not to a student to get in their senior year, they're still then halfway into an associate's program, and it's got a pretty good focus on what we're looking at. Obviously, I think moving forward, we're hoping to expand the opportunities. At this point, when we sort of looked at this and looked at our students, we felt that the healthcare profession and entrepreneurship, some business background, would be kind of the 2 best pathways for us that aren't too specific, and give kids the most option if they get into that program, how they can then move on to other programs at North Shore Community, or to then move on to other state colleges, whether it's Salem State or one of the other universities in the state. So that's kind of where we're at this point. I know we're really excited about it. We're hoping we can step over some of the roadblocks we found at this point. But we've got at this point probably about 8 to 10 schools that are kind of active in the collaborative, and we probably have another 5 to 6 schools that have kind of are letting us do the work and have said, if you put together a program, we'll jump in with you. But they just really kind of weren't ready to put the time and effort in, and so I think it's kudos to the schools that have been working with us on this, and it's been really interesting, that's for sure. But we're excited about the opportunities it's going to provide our students, and again, I think it's combining that with the typical dual enrollment with Mass College Online. We now have quite a few opportunities for our students to kind of take advantage of the possibility of, while they're completing their high school diploma, they're also able to collect and get into and be able to earn some college credits in there. And I think part of it for us is our students are so traditional in the way they do it. We're trying to get, we're constantly telling kids these opportunities, but you've seen it all. They kind of know what that formula is that works, so they work on their resume with the classes that are here. But I think, again, for some of our non-traditional students, this gives them a number of opportunities to kind of be able to do things and move on in a positive direction also. Any questions where we're at there?
Do you have a projected timeline as far as like when this program will go?
We originally were hoping to have it for the fall of next year, but again, where we're looking now, that clearly there's a lot of financial questions that need to be answered, that we're going to be continuing into next year to try to get something ready, that if we can't try to do something even for the second semester of next year, if we've got students that might be ready, or we can at least really kind of nail it down through next year, that we'd be looking for that following year. To be able to look at fall of 2017 to kind of see what we could do there.
Questions?
Well, you answered one of my questions about the flexibility being built in, or at least coming along the line at some point down the road.
Sure.
I had thought, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that at one point one of the action items in looking at this goal was around looking at the high school schedule to enable students to participate more, and I didn't see it on the list. Did that
Right.
fall
No,
by the
that
wayside?
was from the internship
Oh,
program.
okay.
So,
Okay.
right.
Okay.
Yeah. No.
Hold my question.
There you go. Sure. Great. Our other goal was our internship program. And I guess we'll start off with your question, Dorothy. Part of one of the action items in there was we've got a committee right now at the high school that's looking at schedules. We've had a lot of questions of, like everything, we're always reassessing what we do. So part of it was, is our schedule giving us the most opportunities for students in general? And then also, as we looked at internship programs, that was one of the other questions, was there something we could do? One of the drivers on that was the fact of, with our AP students, to try to take an internship that was going to be working fourth quarter when AP exams are happening in the middle of May. It's really right in the heart of when a lot of our kids would be doing internship programs. So Kevin's done a dynamite job. The committee has done a great job at looking at schedules. To be honest with you, one of the things we found in almost every place we've looked at schedules, everybody is facing that same situation. No matter what you do for a schedule, the AP student is kind of up against it with that. So one of the things that we've looked at, although we're still looking at schedules, one of the things that we try to do is also be as flexible as we can with our internship program. And I'll talk about some of the details of that. But right now, as we're looking to pilot that, when we talk to students, we're looking to get, typically the majority of those students would be non-AP students that have the time to completely leave school and go out and do a full internship. But we also want to pilot. We've been in touch with a couple of our AP students to say, let's see what we can do. Let's test how this works, whether it's something you're doing on a weekend or after school. Do you have the time to do that, or is it abbreviated? There's a week or to a week and a half window when, depending on when their AP class, their exam ends, that they'd have to possibly be able to go out and do an abbreviated internship. And I think that's really kind of what most places do. And when we looked around, that's a lot of, and even is it in the guidelines that we have written, we kind of taken from a few different people, and a lot of it was not only AP classes, but also performing arts classes. So, for us, our music, choral and band classes, there are certain performances that happen later in the year in April as we're doing a concert somewhere that is part of their grade. And if they're not in rehearsing and doing those things and out on an internship, then we've got to figure out how we can work around that. So, and again, a lot of that is they can come in and do other rehearsals and still work in their instrumentation or their choral stuff. And again, trying to be as flexible as we can from there. But to go as an overall, we put together a committee that started at the beginning of the year. There's about 6 of us. We looked at getting representation from all the academic groups, and then Scott McKenzie from Guidance and myself as we've been working on this. We've certainly been talking about internships over the course of a few years now, and we really kind of felt we were in a position that we really wanted to kind of move forward on this and really give students this opportunity. So with this committee, we've really taken a look at, again, probably about 8 to 10 different schools from what originally was looked at, and then also schools that we're looking at now, and sort of taken what was common, kind of what worked, what people said they felt worked well, and what they said stay away from. And we put together what we think is a pretty solid program at this point in time. So with that committee working on the guidelines for it and kind of here are all the nitty-gritty steps that students will have to do, we met early on with the senior class to talk about this is what we are working on. This is part of our school improvement plan. And then we had a follow-up meeting just prior to February vacation to kind of lay out the guidelines, give them the details of the program, and then say, here, take a look at this, see what you want to do. Here's how you would apply to this. And now we're in the process. At this point, we've had a number of students reach out. So we're in the process now of taking applications. And obviously part of that is they're putting together a proposal to us. Some of them are going to be in great shape. Others, we're going to say, you need to rework this. And obviously it's going to be a work in progress as we go through that. And I think part of the beauty of the internship is every step is a learning experience. So it's just putting together the proposal and coming up with a cohesive proposal to give to us that's going to explain what you're doing, what the reasoning for it is, what the schedule is like, what you hope to get from it. That's all part of it, just even to start with. And then they will be on basically a 4-week internship. So it'll start when we get back from April vacation. So I think it's April 24th is that date, going to May 20th. So it's basically the last week in April, the first 3 weeks in May. And that puts them if they end on May 20th, then that following week is senior final week, so that's when they would do their presentations and get graded on their internship. So that would put them right on track with the rest of the senior class. And then whatever happens with senior week activities and graduation, they're all on board there. So that's kind of the timeline of it and what they need to do. Portions of it is they'll have a mentor here in the building. Right now, we're talking about just using people in the committee, depending on how many students are really going to be involved in this. And then that way we can sort of test out what are going to be the responsibilities of the mentors. And then we can talk about moving forward, with our staff and seeing what staff want to volunteer. And obviously the point, if we get more and more students that are doing that, as seniors going on in their internship, we'll have those teachers that are teaching senior classes that would have some time freed up that they could then work as mentors. But again, we really kind of wanted to get a look this year at what are the pros and cons of this program? What is it going to take to be a mentor? So that we can be very specific with our teachers, anybody that's interested in volunteering, of what it would entail, what they need to do. So students would need a mentor here in the building. They'd need a guide wherever their internship is going to be. So that person that is the contact point that's setting up their schedule, setting up their tasks, what they need to do. And then there'll be feedback. That's going to be weekly feedback from the guide with the mentor. The student will be doing a weekly blog or an email, a shared Google Doc with the mentor to keep abreast, a log of what they're doing. And then again, at the end of that, their culminating experience will be, and it can be any number of things, whether it's a video presentation, a written essay, something that they can come in and do an oral presentation. Really, again, trying to keep it as flexible and as wide open as possible. But part of that will also be an evaluation from their guide to talk about, were they responsible, were they dependable, how did, in the guide's viewpoint, how did the internship go, and then obviously the student's assessment of how the internship went also. So I think, at this point, we feel like we have a real solid program. The students are excited about it. Our staff has been excited about it. And we're kind of excited to get going now and get this piloted and get it going. So we're kind of excited right now to see what kind of presentations students are going to bring to us and what we can do with that. Our to-dos right now at this point is obviously interviews with students at the end to say, what worked, what didn't work. I think one of the other things we need to really take a look at right now, we're really putting it on students. What do you need to come up with that idea for an internship? I think what we're hoping to do in the future is to really come up with opportunities that they might have. And I know, we've talked in the past a little bit with Linfield Business Coalition and our shadowing day, and I just had a conversation with Rich Mazzola, who offered up his services, even though Linfield Business Coalition is no longer running. I think there's still plenty of people in the community that are going to be a great resource for us to start building a list of these different places that might be interested in year to year having an internship. So I think as we move forward to next year, really starting to come up with a little bit more of a comprehensive list when we introduce in the beginning of the year with a little more detail to it to students to say, here are the types of things you can see, and obviously to have a few examples from what students do this year. Will be able to allow us to kind of explain it to students and really kind of mold it to what their needs are going to be as we move forward. So I realize I'm kind of rambling on. Are there any questions you have?
Just, do you have any idea how many students are going to participate, or the first year, since it's a pilot, will you limit the number?
Yeah, we had talked about, I think we wanted to say probably somewhere 5 to 10 tops. I think originally we were talking about, let's keep it at 5. There were 6 members on the committee, so nobody's got too many kids that they're doing their mentor. And I think, at some point in time, I hear the softy in me, I don't want to say no to somebody. If somebody's putting together a great proposal, for me to say, no, you're the 7th kid, I don't think that's it, and I don't think the committee wants to do that either. So I think at this point, we're kind of playing it by ear, but I think at some point in time, to go more than 7 to 10 students is probably going to be a little unwieldy at this point, just getting that all coordinated with the amount of staff that we're trying to use right now, so that it, again, it's that flashpoint. If more students were doing it, then I'd have more staff members that would be freed up to it. But right now, if I've only got that small group, then the staff members that are teaching senior classes are still going to have a fairly full class. It's doubtful those 10 kids are coming from the same class. So it'd be hard to get the additional staffing to try to do that. But again, I've got some teachers in the building that have said, I don't care what my workload is, I'd love to do this. So they'd love to be a mentor. So we've got some backups there in case we have a few extra kids that want to do it, and we can say yes to them. I feel like that movie, you always have to say yes to whatever it is.
High school mission statement?
Sure. So high school mission statement, we have a little bit of an advantage here, I guess. That, this has been developed throughout the years, and obviously as part of our NEASC reaccreditation, it's always a big portion is that, it's now called that core values, beliefs statement and the learning expectations. I think one of the things that, if you look, it's really interesting to see from the elementary to the middle to the high school how it just gets more and more detailed as far as our expectations. But I think the common themes there are certainly that, understanding, that sort of the understanding of different people, that teaching, that tolerance, the respect, and obviously the service stuff. I think those are obviously things that we're looking at as the threads that go through everything we do. For the Linfield High School statement, I'll read it out to you. So we preface it with Pioneer Pride, but the overall statement is in partnership with our community. Linfield High School provides a learning environment that prepares all students to reach their full potential as lifelong learners and as contributing participants in a global community. So I think everybody strives to be as specific as you can in your mission statement. I think, Steve had mentioned it years ago. Everybody had that 3-page mission statement. It was like, let's touch on everything you could ever think of in education. And they became unwieldy documents that really worked. And I think one of the things that we really work hard at, and as part of that mission, is that our core values and belief statement is a living, breathing document. So it's constantly being revamped. We're constantly looking at that as we take a look at how is education changing. And obviously there's some specific needs for our students that are never going to change, but there are also things as we look at the proliferation of technology that's changed how our mission statement has changed. And then when you look at our 21st century learning expectations, and it's read, comprehend, and analyze information effectively. And that encompasses, that's not just technology, that's any kind of form of information. How do we read, comprehend, and analyze that? Communicate effectively in written, oral, and visual forms. Collaborate productively in a variety of learning environments. Solve problems creatively and effectively. Exhibit proficient use of technology. Demonstrate responsibility through ownership of personal actions. Demonstrate a knowledge and understanding of other cultures and beliefs, and make positive contributions within the community. Those statements as our 21st century learning expectations, we talked about it earlier when we talked about some of the changes in our program of studies. Specifically, Dorothy, we had talked about it, that demonstrate a knowledge and understanding of other cultures and beliefs. There was tolerance and some things that we had in there that, again, it was sort of wordy, where our feeling was demonstrate knowledge and understanding of other cultures and beliefs really encompasses that tolerance and that understanding and those things that we want to do. So we're always looking to kind of be as efficient as we can with that. The other thing for us is with those 21st century learning expectations, we report out on those twice a year. So that happens on our second quarter report card and then our end of year report card. And right now it's done through a comment system. And we are continually working again through part of the NEASC, but also just part of what we'd like to do to be a little more efficient with that. Is there a specific learning expectation report card that we can put together? And that's, again, that's still in committee and the things that we're working on. But each of those 21st century learning expectations, a different department has kind of the lead responsibility to report on that. So, those teachers are talking about, when it's read, comprehend, analyze information effectively, obviously that's an ELA goal. So our English teachers all will report out on that second and fourth quarter, depending on the different goals. So they're all spread out throughout the different departments, and then there's a few that we have all departments report out on. So there's 2 different comments that are put on each report card as we look at that, whether it's second or fourth quarter. And again, that's one of those things that we're looking to do so that, obviously if we're reporting out on that, there are sort of projects or programs or things that each department has that they utilize as an assessment of that. So whether it's, it's done multiple times through the year so that they can then go ahead and report out on that on second and fourth quarter and report on them effectively. And it's not just I think you're pretty good at that, but to actually have some data on that. And those are things that we work at. And again, here's where we're incorporating some of our DDMs and some of the other assessments that we use. we're kind of double dipping with some of those. We're utilizing some of those assessments to also look at how are we reporting, how are we assessing our 21st century learning expectations. So, any questions there? Great. Awesome. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Okay, our next item on the agenda is the policy subcommittee review, which Dorothy is going to speak to the policy adjustments.
Okay. So there are a few policies to look at tonight, and actually some of them are pretty simple and straightforward. The first one is IJNDB, which is the Empowered Use and Digital Access Policy. And really, I think looking at the final one is probably the easiest one to do, and I'll sort of back you in how we got to it. It's been a while since we looked at it, and I think there was sort of a philosophy in education when technology first came to be used in the classroom of let's keep the kids safe, let's keep all these restrictions on to keep all the kids safe. And as time went on and the resources got better and richer, the philosophy changed to let's teach them how to keep themselves safe. Let's open up the world to them that's available in technology, and also keep them safe. So acceptable use policies have kind of segued into empowered use policies and digital access. And I know that the administrators worked a lot on looking at the policy we had and revising it to what fit for us. And Susie and I made a few additional tweaks to that we felt were important to just clarify what the administrators had come up with. And then there were some things that we felt we wanted to leave the policy broad and allow some of the things that needed to happen to be procedures, whether they're more related to staff or they're more related to students at the different level. So instead of being really procedurally oriented and prescriptive in the policy, we wanted to leave it broad and leave those procedures to the administration. So that's how we came up with the final policy that you have in front of you. Any questions on it? Okay. So then student activity accounts, I believe the only change is crossing out a word in the policy, and that was Tom Geary's recommendation, so we went with it. And student activity funds management also was Tom Geary's suggestions to comply with some new regulations and law related to student activity fund management. So I think there's just an additional paragraph added that he thought was important to have in there. Emergency plans was really totally the administration, outlining the emergency plans, really some very minor changes relating to changing something that said every 3 years to being every year, so far as drills and reviewing the plans was concerned. And then the domestic violence leave policy is a new policy, again, related to legislation, which we should have in place. And we adopted the MASC model policy. The only part of the model policy says that the district has the decision of whether domestic leave would be paid or unpaid, and we opted to say it would be unpaid. And then security cameras in the schools is also another policy recommended by MASC that the administrators and the policy subcommittee felt would be appropriate to adopt. Any questions? Okay, goes faster when I do this part.
Thank you, Dorothy. The next item is the superintendent's summative evaluation. So just to let everyone know, we have a document that it's kind of Jane's report card, right? Superintendent gets a report card too. And all of us filled it out individually, and they submitted it. Each person submitted to me, and I took it and made a summary document with including everyone's feedback, and so that's what we're sharing here tonight. So I think I'll start on the second page, not on the first, because the first is kind of the summary page, the first section. And I'll just go standard by standard and then go back to the first page, which is kind of the overall evaluation. So in Jane's goals, there were three pieces of standard number one, which is instructional leadership. And that includes instructional practices, observation and feedback, and alignment review. And Jane received proficient in all three of those areas. And the comments, zoom in here so I can read them all. Comments and analysis are as follows. Superintendent Tremblay operates on a daily basis as the true instructional leader of the district. Jane's work in setting high expectations for the quality of classroom instruction is consistent and pervasive. Her desire to make sure that the work done by administrators, teachers, and in fact everyone in the district is high quality, is meaningful, and benefits the teaching and learning process. She is thoughtful and strategic in this work and is clearly making an effort to ensure that all administrators share her expectations. While we are not privy to the evaluations of administrators or teachers, it is clear that Jane has high expectations for the administrators on her team and is also working to ensure that teachers are effective in the classroom. Superintendent Tremblay has implemented a five-phase program to effectuate enhanced instructional leadership. This program not only considers and evaluates classroom instruction, but also allows administration to do a self-evaluation and peer evaluation. The reflective analysis helps to identify and enhance quality instruction and recognize fruitful assessment practices. Based on her schedule of visitations to the schools and conversations with administrators, her focus is clearly on curriculum, instruction, and assessment. She has consistent and ongoing dialogue with the Lynnfield administrative leadership team and models the need for a collegial, cooperative, and collaborative effort to realize the vision and achieve the mission of the Lynnfield Public Schools. Okay. Any feedback, you guys? Any feedback on any of that? Okay. All right. So on the second, standard management and operations, Jane's goals contained one element of that, which is time for collaboration, and she received proficient on that as well. Comments and analysis, Jane understands that time for collaboration is necessary to make progress for our students. Her efforts in proposing the new district position in the fiscal year 17 budget indicates her thinking and planning about how to accomplish the time and work necessary to advance teaching and learning for our students. Jane has set high expectations and standards for all the Lynnfield Public Schools to ensure that they maintain day-to-day operations as high-performing learning centers with a focus on academics and social-emotional learning for all students. Based on the structure and implementation of her program for enhancing instructional leadership, it appears that meeting time is purposeful and agenda-driven. Jane's description of the program indicates that sufficient time is allowed for evaluation and analysis. Okay. For standard, the third standard, family and community engagement. Her goals included three elements from this: community and business engagement, family collaboration, and two-way communication. She received proficient in all three categories. Comments? I'm going to make this small font to fit it all in. I've got a lot to say. Superintendent Tremblay has immersed herself in the community and has built strong relationships with both town government and the business community. Her strong communication with the police department has increased student safety and fostered a strong focus on the social and emotional wellness of our students. The introduction of CopSync demonstrates not only a relationship with other town departments, but also with the business community. It should be noted that Superintendent worked in collaboration with the Lynnfield Police Department to secure CopSync's safety system at no cost to the town or the school department. She was able to secure private grants to pay for the initial cost of the program. The new position of school resource officer has been leveraged in ways that increase student safety and well-being, as well as increasing the collaboration with families, as is evidenced in the school committee updates as well as the presentation at our school committee meeting. Overall, Jane has developed strong and beneficial relationships with town officials, and she is well respected among her peers in the community. The superintendent, along with her administrative leadership team, went to visit METCO students and families at the beginning of the school year. This initiative demonstrated a commitment to ensuring that these students have a successful and rewarding experience in Lynnfield. Jane is visible in the schools and at school events. This provides her opportunity to interact with all stakeholders in the school community. The superintendent is good-natured and approachable and actively engages students at each school to gather feedback about their experiences. Jane has a high energy level and reaches out in as many ways possible, using social media, electronic communications, and personal contact to all segments of those connected to the Lynnfield Public School community. She invites opinions, commentary, feedback, and input for her consideration and reflection. She demonstrates a genuine concern for all students and families in the district. Communication is one of Jane's strongest qualities. Her sincere commitment to this seems to have filtered down to the administrative leadership team and faculty. Her Twitter feed, for example, indicates that many administrators and staff also provide a wealth of information about what is happening in the schools and with our students. While there is clearly evidence of Jane's engagement with school stakeholders, there is less evidence of an ongoing plan for formal two-way communication with parents and other stakeholders. With the understanding that Jane is only 18 months into the job, this may be something to consider in the future. Okay. And then the fourth standard is professional culture. Jane's goals contain two elements from that, commitment to high standards and the shared vision development. Again, she scored proficient in both areas. Jane's work on the district strategy was well thought out and backed up the evidence she gathered in her entry plan. The goals in the strategy support a strong and ambitious vision for our students. As evidenced in the work done on the student learning goal, this is an area where Jane has put a considerable effort. Her work in ensuring that all administrators have high expectations for the teaching and learning that occurs in our classroom will benefit our students. It is thoughtful, strategic, and clearly work she is passionate about. Her work with the ALT to ensure reliability on walkthroughs and evaluations, as well as a clear focus ensuring administrators are supporting teachers to grow as educators, is impressive. The superintendent's commitment to high standards is unequivocal. It should be noted that this commitment has caused Jane to take on many roles, some of which should be left to her administrative leadership team. As a district leader, she should continue to foster and nurture this environment. However, she should allow her administrators to develop their own genuine and authentic desire for high expectations. The superintendent's commitment to technology is extraordinary. With the support of technology specialists, the district continues to push the bounds of technology across all grade levels. The superintendent continually encourages the high school administration to implement new classes and instruction to prepare the students for college and postgraduate careers. A strong sense of community and civic engagement is woven into the fabric of the high school. Superintendent Tremblay regularly utilizes the school committee meetings as a forum within which this standard is clearly on display and comes to fruition. For example, a glimpse into the classroom like this evening. And then Jane has the 4 goals that were presented earlier this year, last year. It's been a while. She received, I'm sorry, this thing has changed my screen a little bit. It runs anywhere from did not meet, for some progress, significant progress, met, and exceeded. And Jane has met all 4 of her goals, which the first one was the new superintendent induction program. The second one is the student learning goal, which is fair, effective classroom teacher evaluation. The third one is a district improvement goal, which is to improve communication with all stakeholders, including students, faculty, parents, school committee, and the greater Lynnfield community. And then a second district improvement goal, which is to integrate technology effectively to enhance teaching and learning for all students. So she met all of those goals. And the overall evaluation page, the comments there are that Superintendent Jane Tremblay has met established goals and is proficient within the standards indicated. Jane has stepped into the superintendency with confidence and purpose. She clearly has a strong vision for moving the district forward and for continuous improvement. She holds herself to a high standard and expects the same of others. Under her leadership, the Lynnfield School District has made progress in integrating technology into teaching and learning, addressing the social, emotional, and safety needs for our students, and ensuring high-quality teaching staff. There's been an increased rigor around student performance, observational feedback, and inter-district communication. Leading in the areas of curriculum, assessment, and instructional practice is a strength of Jane's. She has also thoroughly documented and articulated required goals and strategies. Her day-to-day operations as the instructional leader of the Lynnfield Public Schools reflects and is in congruity with the established vision and mission of the district. Jane has demonstrated a very efficient system for the collection and synthesis of data as an evidence-based practice for her role as superintendent. At the same time, Jane is still learning some of the details and workflow included with the job. However, she is aware that she still has room to grow in this area and is always anxious to reflect and improve. She welcomes feedback regarding how to communicate more effectively with the committee to ensure members have the information they need to do their job well. There is nothing significant lacking, however, it is an area for continued refining. While the quantitative results remain to be seen, based on Jane's current practices, the district is headed in a positive direction. So that's the formal evaluation, and does anyone have any comments to make?
I just
do all the talking.
I just, at some point we have to vote to adopt this, and given that we all had input into it, and this kind of isn't, I'm wondering if we should just go ahead and vote tonight. It doesn't, I know we usually have the procedure of waiting, but it doesn't seem like, since we've already had our input, that it doesn't seem like it would be worth waiting. So I don't know how other people feel about that.
Okay. Have any feedback? Any of the items or any other comments?
No, Susie, thank you for doing a great job in cobbling together all of our comments. I kept looking for my comment to make sure it was there. Yeah, you did great. You did a nice job on that. You really did. Thank you very much for that work. And I agree with Dorothy. We certainly could move forward with that. I would be in favor of that.
Okay.
But I can hear from others. Thank you.
Okay.
I agree.
Yeah, excellent.
I also, I think for the first evaluation, I hope you're pleased. Because I think that the evaluation certainly indicates that you have a lot of confidence from the committee. And I know I look forward to continuing to work with you going forward and watch the district grow.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing, and you see a broader, stroke of superintendents, but for, this is your first review as a superintendent, first time as a superintendent, I was hoping the same, that you were pleased with it, because, it's impressive, I think. And everyone, I definitely got the feel that, people are very confident and hopeful about the road ahead.
Well, thank you. I am very pleased with it. I agree with you, Dorothy, for my first review. I know it's out there and I know what I've seen, so I thank you for your vote of confidence, and I thank you for sharing in my vision for moving the district forward, and I am very excited about the work that lies ahead with the administrative leadership team and all the faculty and teachers. So thank you for your vote of confidence through this. I greatly appreciate it.
Excellent. Okay.
Would you like me to make a motion?
Okay.
Shall we? There's no other items under matters for action.
Okay.
So,
wrap it up.
He's anxious.
I move to adopt the composite evaluation for Superintendent Jane Tremblay.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Excellent. It is accepted. Passes.
Good. Well, a few things to celebrate tonight. We have any of you heard of Technovation Challenge for high school girls? I am really excited about this. Audrey Coates is putting together teams of high school girls, and basically this is basically technology entrepreneurship led by girls. And every year, Technovation challenges girls all over the world to build a mobile app that will address a community problem. And so Audrey has different teams of girls from the high school that she's working with. And each team has to come up with an app idea, conduct user research, create a business plan, build an app prototype, and then it will be judged by a group of business leaders. I think the judging is going to take place for her in Boston. So I am super excited about that for her and for our girls in the high school. I think it's a great opportunity for them. So I'm also excited about sharing more about that as time goes on. So she definitely has the teams together and they're moving forward. We already got some surveys through email from some of the teams asking us our different thoughts on things. So I think that that's very exciting. Also, there was a group of students from Linfield High School that tried out for the high school quiz show. And that's something that's never been done before either. Sue Breen, a group of teachers, a group of students from the high school went to Sue Breen and said, hey, will you sponsor us and coach us and help us do this? And I actually spoke to Sue Breen about it, and she said that it was super fun, super exciting. They didn't make it on the show, but they worked really, really hard, and she said that she reflected and learned a lot about how she could actually be a better coach in the future, and she said it's definitely something that she wants to continue to do. I'm going to be presenting at Huckleberry Hill on Thursday, finally, the district strategy. I was supposed to do it on a snow day, I think, Rich, is that right? And it got canceled. So I'm finally up to do that on Thursday. So that's going to be an exciting opportunity for me, not only to share the district strategy, but also to see how the budget ties into that district strategy and hopefully have a great conversation with Huckleberry Hill parents around that. And the last thing that I have to report out on is I've talked to the committee about the mandate from the DESE for the SEI course that the teachers have to have PDPs in for SEI, and Mary Kate Adams, who is our ELL teacher, has done a phenomenal job working with some other district administrators on the North Shore. She has developed an online course, and that is actually going to be rolled out in March. And it's going to be rolled out first to teachers who absolutely possibly need it for their next round of certification. But she's done a great job for that, so that's coming out in March.
Just the acronym SEI for the non-educators?
It is
Structured English Immersion.
Thank you.
Quiz.
Yeah. And I failed. After the whole I failed.
You don't have to revise that.
It's already voted, Sal. Thank you, Sal. If it makes you feel any better, I was looking at all my administrators, and they were all going like this as well. It just left my mind. No worries. So that's it.
Okay, public participation? All right, seeing, hearing none. Matters of action, we just acted and
Move to adjourn.
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you very much.